Hello and welcome to coverage of the Magic Online Championship. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Eric Froelich. And we're just about underway here in the second draft round. You can see one of our three Pro Tour champions on the right, Antonio Del Moral-Leon. He's going to play against Maxime Martin on the left-hand side of your screen there. And it looks like they just jumped into their game, so we will do the same. And we are booster drafting here. This is round 2. Maxime looks like he's on blue-black and red-green with a slight black splash for Antonio here. Let's take a look at their opening hands. Wow, I see what the black splash is for right away there, Eric. Kolagon, the Storm's Fury, down on the bottom there for Antonio.
Yeah, that's a great card to splash. There aren't many cards I'd be interested in splashing in Dragons format, but yeah, those rare dragons are definitely up there.
Yeah.
Although Volcanic Rush is a card you don't see too often, comboing pretty well with the other card in his hand, though, in Dragon Fodder.
Bathe in Dragonfire off the top here as well for Antonio. So
I wonder how many token makers Antonio actually has. I mean, Kolagon obviously becomes incredibly powerful if you're able to go wide on the board, and Volcanic Rush is kind of only playable if you're able to go wide on the board. So.
That's right. Swift Warkite off the top there for Antonio as well shows another one of his splash cards. Currently doesn't have any black mana at his disposal, though, so he'll need to find that. In the meantime, we see, and right on time, there's the Jungle Hollow. We see a fairly typical curve out here for the blue-black deck with a couple of creatures that you don't mind sacrificing to an exploit creature down the line, though. As it sits, Maxime doesn't actually have that exploit creature here, and is probably going to have to go for...
It's an interesting decision to not play the Gore Swine that turn. Kind of no reason to do that based on his hand. He didn't have any 4-drop, so getting the tap land in play on turn 3 versus waiting till turn 4 doesn't really make a lot of sense unless his deck has maybe like 7 or so 4-drops that he would really like to play on turn 4 that he's hoping to top deck.
I see. Yeah, the Gore Swine obviously looks terrible on this deck, on this board state as well. The Sultai Emissary and the Palace Familiar just laughing at it.
It's certainly not doing much in play, but it's doing even less in hand.
Whoa! Speaking of big draws here, check this out. Anticipate has found Dragon Lord Ojutai and the mana to cast it. We could have a straight-up dragon fight here, though it looks like Antonio has missed his land drop here and won't be able to deploy his Kolagon, but... Wow.
Trust me, if I was a little bit less sick, I would have been screaming just as loud as Marshall on that one. I'm just going to let him handle the enthusiasm. Now, he actually does get the extra mana from this Berserker, though, which he is looking like he may chump attack with should Ojutai block it. But, of course, that will allow the Volcanic Rush to cast should Ojutai try to eat the Hardened Berserker.
Yeah, so this is actually a really cool spot. Just the Hardened Berserker is going to hit the red zone here.
I think this is a very good play.
And Maxime wants to get a little value out of his mana, out of his 2/2 here. He's going to double block to take out the Berserker and get a couple of triggers, drawing himself a card and getting himself a Manifest. But like you mentioned a second ago, Eric, that trigger already happened from the Hardened Berserker, meaning that Kolagon can now be cast for just 4 mana. And that will probably just keep Dragonlord Ojutai at bay here, I'd assume.
Well, there's Deathwind in hand. So Maxime has a premium removal spell in Deathwind, and actually... so does Antonio. This Ojutai is going to come in. He's going to get a free Anticipate. He gets to look at the top 3, put 1 into his hand, the other 2 will go on the bottom, but the Hexproof will be turned off, so the Bathe in Dragonfire in turn will be turned on.
Yeah, a nice draw there. Vulturous Aven is what he found off of that free Anticipate you mentioned, and that'll help reload his board after he gets the Gurmag Angler down. In the meantime, Antonio can breathe a sigh of relief. That's about the best case scenario you can get if you're facing down to Dragonlord Ojutai, is being able to just take 1 hit and kill it. And he does so.
He can do lots of good things this turn. He can play the High Priest. He can play the Aven and exploit either the High Priest or the Manifest, depending on what that is, and whether he actually wants it, and still cast the Angler this turn. So definitely a big turn. And Angler's a really good card in general, but even more so against like a red-green deck. There aren't a lot of ways to remove a 5/5. Bathe in Dragonfire is one of the best removal spells available to red-green that can only deal 4 damage, and Antonio's already used his copy. It is tough to get a couple of those because that card is a premium removal spell.
For sure.
So, yeah, that Angler has a good chance to just rule the board.
Yeah, it leaves you with just looking at a card like Sarkon's Rage or something, and it's just not that many of those floating around either. So there it is, Gurmag Angler. Feels unfair. You know, the red-green deck's supposed to be the one making the huge creatures, but sometimes the blue-black will throw a 5/5 big fish down at you. And an Inoc Artillerist off the top for Antonio. Not really what he wants to see here. He can eventually craft a board, a game plan where he plays that Magmatic Chasm to try to punch through for a bunch of damage. But right now, he's the one who's behind.
Yeah, he is now that the board is cleared up a little bit, that, you know, the good exploit creatures, the Sultai Emissary and the Palace Familiar are down. The fact that he missed playing that Goreswine for a turn, you know, it's relevant now. He could have had an attack that turn. It would have put Maxime in an interesting spot with his Angler. It's not an easy spot to block. You can get blown out by something like Kindled Fury and other cards that aren't necessarily blowouts, but not trades you want to make. And so it would have been an interesting spot, but missing that turn of getting that creature into play, you know, it's rough.
It could come back and bite him for sure. He draws an Abzan Beastmaster. The cards he's drawn off the top are really not what he wants to see. The Beastmaster miles away from getting triggered again, thanks to the Gurmag Angler there. Now it looks like finally the Goreswine is going to join the team here. He's 1 mana away from playing the Swift Warkite. I know he's got that Hardened Berserker down in his graveyard. We can take a quick look here, and that's the only target he's got down there. But you can start moving things forward once he hits that land as well. In the meantime, it looks like just Vulturous Aven's going to attack here. And Maxime is finally out of gas here.
Out of gas, but well ahead on board. Of course, this Chasm, it could do a lot. I mean,
yes.
You know, we're looking at not a lot of toughness. This Beastmaster is looking a little weak right now.
It is.
With the highest toughness on Tanner's side being 1. But he's got a lot of power. And so Magmatic Chasm, threatens to deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, you know, I could see a scenario here where he casts a Warkite, gets back the Hardened Berserker, maybe finds one other high-powered threat, you know, a Conifer Strider or something like that, and try to set up a one-shot kill here. Antonio's at 10, but it looks like Maxime's been reluctant to attack with his Angler, not wanting to trade it off for like a Goreswine plus a token or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, Maxime's going to have to draw something here. If the Manifest a Flyer, that helps a lot. But what's going to happen next turn, assuming both players draw bricks, is that Antonio's going to attack with the 4/4. He wants the 2/3 to be attacking anyway because that thing can soak up 4 points of damage. The Chasm allows creatures with flying to still block, but not the ground creatures.
Right.
And so he'd love to be able to deal 4, get 2 more ground creatures in play, have Maxime have no flyers in play, and his attack the following turn is threatened to be 19 additional. And after attacking for 4, Maxime will be at 14. So he would need multiple cards to get out of that mess. And with 1 card in hand, he would need, I guess, you know, a good spell and one of the manifests to be a flyer.
Interesting. Look what's happened here.
Yeah,
Maxime attacks with nothing.
He doesn't really have a good attack. I mean, this Angler could have been attacking on a lot of turns. He could have bluff removal to threaten should Antonio block with a 4/1 and a 1/1. I don't think Magmatic Chasm is a card that's on a lot of people's minds, nor should it necessarily be. But, yeah. It is definitely threatening to win the game next turn.
Right. Hardened Berserker come down here. He can even...
also, he's 1 mana away from both having Chasm and Volcanic Rush for
Rush.
Potentially hundreds upon thousands of damage.
Yeah, and in fact, he is going to sneak in some damage right now. This is also going to encourage the Aven to attack next turn, sort of playing into his game plan.
Yeah, there's no reason for the Aven not to attack. I mean,
right.
Once your creatures get into that mode of not attacking and they also are not blocking, game's not looking good for you.
That's right.
So just get into the damage while you can.
Now, interestingly, Maxime does have a pair of manifests here. One of them's been on the table for a while, and we're going to assume it's not a creature. The other one could be, though.
There aren't too many creatures that matter unless they are... He was lucky enough to hit a Megamorph that might have a sweet ability, preferably one of the rares. There aren't too many cards that matter in that spot. The only cards that really matter are flyers,
right,
so that they can block. Of course, if it was a flyer, there's a good chance he would have flipped it up that turn. If it could have traded with the 4/4 dragon, or if it was something like a Vulturous Aven to double block, that would have been definitely a consideration as well.
Here's a Palace Familiar off the top.
Palace Familiar is good.
And
A lot of lands, though, for Maxime.
yeah, he really has found a lot. Remember, he's played Vulture Save in this game as well, so he's turned through his library pretty decent. He's played Anticipate twice, once for free and once the good old-fashioned way. And let's see, he should send in with the Vulture Save and leaving him effectively just one blocker back, and that's what he does.
So a land here is game over by a lot.
Well, he doesn't actually need it, though, right? He's got the Berserker.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The Berserker will create the mana in the attack phase, and Volcanic Rust can be cast. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Whoa, this is going to be a ton of damage here.
And he doesn't even need the Volcanic Rust to actually win the game. It's just insurance against multiple things that Maxime would have to have.
Like
of which
flipping up a Manifest to block.
And
plus
having a removal spell, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, he did play the Palace Familiar, so he has one blocker. So one removal spell would just barely be enough. Yeah.
Right.
With the blocker, a removal spell to take out a 4/1 would mean that he's only coming in for 11. The Volcanic Rust, though, it represents 14 more damage, which is already Maxime's life total.
Right, and of course the Trample is going to carry over and make the Palace Familiar not look that good of a blocker anyway.
An additional 5 there.
Yeah, so here we go.
We're getting word that the Manifest are plains in a swamp, so those are not going to do it.
All right.
He's going to try to hit another flyer here. Otherwise, he doesn't even have to show the Volcanic Rush. It's just lethal.
So new Manifest.
Now his Manifests are swamp. So he's not even going to have to cast the Volcanic Rush. This game is just over.
All right.
A little bit unfortunate. The full combo kill would have been a little bit cooler.
It would have been cooler, but yeah, instead he's going to get him to -1, and that's going to be it for game one. Antonio Del Moral Leon fights through a bunch of value there and just sets up a board state where he can get the win with Magmatic Chasm. Even had that backup plan we mentioned as well. So let's take a look at our sideboarding. This is a new thing that we get to do because we get to watch the player sideboard so clearly on here on Magic Online. So we can just show you both sideboarding at the same time.
This is one of the coolest additions to coverage I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I think this is really cool. So let's see if we can get a look at what the players are up to here. Not a lot changing. It looks like Antonio's going through every card here.
Smart.
You know, it is. Sometimes you'll find a card, that you knew what you wanted to bring in, you brought out something, and then you draw a card in the middle of your second game, and you just go, this just isn't that good in the matchup. If I would have really thought about this and I just forgot it was in there or just didn't consider it.
So it looks like he's thinking about taking out the Chasm. The two cards it looks like he's bringing in are Volcanic Vision, which is a 7-mana sorcery. So slow. Definitely very slow, but definitely powerful as well. What it does is you return an instant sorcery from your graveyard, and you deal damage to all your opponent's creatures equal to that card's casting cost. So in a stalled out game, that thing is going to win the game. The other card he's looking at is Pinion Feast, which will destroy a flyer, of which Esper has many, and also bolster one of your creatures.
Right. It also gives him another target for that Volcanic Vision in his yard.
Absolutely.
Really going through all of his options here. Does feel like he's pretty close, though, to where he wants to be.
Yeah. Looks like he's got it figured out. Hovering over that submit deck button, just to give it one last look.
All right, and they are just underway again.
Sweet laptop graphic and game.
So right now, these players do not have the same record. As you can see, Antonio sitting at 4-4, where Maxime is at 5-3.
This opening hand by Maxime is like, it's beautiful for a blue-black deck. Maybe a little bit short on lands, but these Palace Familiars and Sultai Emissaries are so good in the blue-black deck. They're very high picks, I feel like. And Flatten is a first pick. Gurmag Angler is an extremely high pick. Like, just what looks like an excellent deck for Maxime.
And he even finds that land right on time there. Now, is he going to curve out with the Attendant or just get another Familiar on board? Yeah, he's going to get another familiar on board. So beatdown plan has commenced here for Maxime, at least in the early stages. I'm sure his role will change shortly, especially since there's Obzon Beastmasters and Gorswines on the other side of the table.
Yeah, there's not like a ton of value from being able to have played out the Dutiful Attendant so that you can play two drops on the following turn should you draw a land, just because they're going to be outclassed. I mean, your opponent is going to play a creature.
And there we go. Dutiful Attendant is going to blank the Obzon Beastmaster's triggered ability there. Bloodfire Enforcers was the draw for Antonio. And he wants to play it, though. Looking, he's got a sorcery and no instant currently available to him, but that's always nice to have that sorcery in the hand. You can get that stocked into the graveyard, and then when you do draw an instant, you can make your Bloodfire Enforcers active at instant speed, which can really mess up combat for your opponent.
Another easily first pick quality removal spell from Maxime.
Yeah, he has the opportunity to fire it off right here if he'd like. And given the rest of his board, that actually is probably the play. It takes out a potent threat, but also it means that the Beastmaster isn't going to trigger, because as the board sits, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. He's going to probably want to remove the Bloodfire Enforcer one way or another, or the Beastmaster.
True. Oh, it looks like he's going to go for the Beastmaster. Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before that Angler can actually come down, I imagine he feels, and so, yeah, just get rid of the threat that's going to take over the game.
His hand is so sweet.
So not really a good attack here for Antonio. He's got a number of decent threats, but doesn't have a ton of mana. He's kind of constrained to being able to only play one spell a turn, and that's going to be the case for probably several turns outside of an Epic Confrontation. And the cards aren't actually super powerful. Like being able to play, 2-3 mana spells in a turn is nice, but the 3 mana spells are in a lot of ways just outclassed by things like Sultai Emissary and Palace Familiar.
Yeah.
Gorswine just not doing much in this matchup. It's great once you're able to cast a falter effect, which is what we call things like Magmatic Chasm that cause your opponent to not be able to block, or if you're able to give them trample or something like that. A card like Temur Battle Rage to give double strike and trample is a great combination with Gorswine, but outside of that, it's pretty weak against a bunch of value 1/1 creatures.
Would you consider taking it out?
Absolutely. He may not have better options to bring in, but I would certainly consider taking it out.
Especially after this game, where he's seen now 4 creatures in a row that basically blank a Gorswine.
Not just, they blank it and make it look real foolish.
Yeah. And I mean, it's already a pig. It's like...
Yeah, you're trading your 3 mana card for their 2 mana card, and they get a card out of the deal. All right, well.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing.
All right. So it looks like Antonio's going to kick things off with Hardened Berserker here. He's not going to attack with his Sabertooth Outrider. It would get first strike, meaning that he could kind of run over the board, but he decides not to attack, and it's just going to get flattened anyway.
Yeah, casting the flatten there to make sure that he could cast Angler next turn, no matter what he drew.
Turns out he drew the land he wanted anyway for it, but in the meantime, Palace Familiar beatdown. And there's the Angler.
And Maxime's got a wall of creatures and 20 life to work with, and he's got now the biggest creature on the board as well, but he is out of gas.
He is finally out of gasoline.
Antonio has 5 cards in hand, but he's kind of out of gas too. It's a lot of mediocre creatures.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting as well from Maxime's seat, because now he knows about Magmatic Chasm, and while his creatures match up well, with the 4/1s and such that his opponents are playing, he is going to want to try to close this game down, and even offering trades and such along these lines is beneficial to him, as it makes that Magmatic Chasm look a lot worse.
Well, this is also a great trade because of the Dutiful Attendant threatening to just bring back the Angler at any time.
Totally. Well, Volcanic Vision off the top there for Antonio, though. He's a little ways off from that. He has to hit at least another land, and then you would have to jump attack to get it going. Let's see what he's got in his graveyard here. I don't think he has anything to make it work yet. Yeah, all creatures currently. So he's got some work to do as far as that goes. The best option is the Epic Confrontation that's in his hand. He'd have to get that into his graveyard. That part's easy.
Yeah,
Draw a
I think
land.
if Maxime could have Antonio just cast Volcanic Vision for 5 mana and not bring anything back but sweep his board, he would probably just take it right now.
He would get an Angler, 2 cards, and a Manifest.
Yes. He would upgrade across the board.
Yeah, that's actually quite good, especially considering that he's just staring at a Plains in his hand.
With cards like Dragonlord Ojutai in his deck.
Right, and the mana to cast them. So he's chipping away. Did you do that?
I might have.
Which button is that? So Dragonlord
It's this
Ojutai
one.
off the
Don't
top.
press it, Marshall.
Okay.
It's called the LSV whitelist button. It's marked in with a big "Do Not Touch" covered in glass. Just don't go near that one.
The shiny red button over there. So
Marshall,
there
don't
it is. Dragonlord Ojutai hits the battlefield now for Maxime Martin and reduces this clock down significantly.
Well,
It doesn't look like a lot of options here for Antonio, as his opponent's still sitting at 20. And the Volcanic Vision still doesn't have a viable target.
yeah, if there was a target, it is a great way to deal with something like Dragonlord Ojutai, getting around hexproof, but nope. Not doing that right now. He actually doesn't even have a way to deal with it. Oh wait, he does. He can flip his Megamorph, put a counter on the artillery, and it will have reach.
Oh, good point. He's going to Epic Confrontation to take out Dutiful Attendant here. You got to figure, like, Maxime's pretty pleased with that transaction. Here comes Gurmag Angler back to hand.
I assume he's going to attack with the Berserkers here.
He does indeed.
Maxime may have some idea that something's up after he's got the mana floating, he's got a few cards in hand that kind of have to be spells based on the land drops that Antonio has missed, and the fact that Antonio is now going to pass the turn.
Yeah, and you see that here. Maxime goes to his main phase, draws an island, and immediately tanks. He's certainly concerned that artillerist could come online and get in the way.
Well, just kind of anything. There are instances, I assume, that can take care of Dragonlord Ojutai, although off the top of my head, I can't really think of any.
Yeah, I don't think there are.
I guess
here.
Sarkhan's Rage is going to be a little bit shy there.
All right, so
he's probably going to eat one of these Palace Familiars here.
Yeah, he's going to play around it. Yeah, use up his mana here to get the counter over on the Einok Artillerist, eat a Palace Familiar. And he does just that. Guardian Shield Bearer turning face up into a 3/2 itself.
Manifest, we're getting word, is Vial of Dragonfire.
Okay.
Not a flippable, uppable card.
No.
Ooh, in case it's a great draw.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this has been very one-sided here for Maxime. He has been ahead for the duration, and he gets to play Gurmag Angler and have Encase mana up as well, too. This turn, it's just pretty dominant performance here in Game 2.
Cast Defenses means that the Volcanic Vision can actually be turned on moderately should he draw land next turn, so got to be a little bit happy about that. The problem is the board is about to get real bad. This Encase and Ice is effectively a Terminate. It's going to more or less just kill the artillery, pave the way for Dragonlord Ojutai to come in. He gets the best card of the top 3 of his library. He doesn't have any good blocks on even the Manifest, let alone the Angler.
Right.
Depending on where this defenses actually goes. It looks like he's setting it up for the Gore Swine. I guess Volcanic Visioning with the defenses doesn't actually even kill the Dragon Lord. Yeah, this game is all Maxime. I was thinking of Tamoka's Gift.
Yeah, that would be decent. That
would be good. He would still lose the game, but yeah.
All right, so Encase and I still in hand here for Maxime. He draws Karsi High Priest. Interesting. Doesn't bother using the Encase and Ice.
Yeah, if his plan isn't to attack with the Dragon Lord, none of these creatures are actually threatening right now. Just hold on to your premium removal spell. I mean, this does effectively
what is he holding
kill
it for? I mean,
not necessarily anything in particular, but a threat that he cares about. Like, there could be rares we haven't seen. We've already seen Kolagon. Could be Dragon Lord Atarka. I don't know.
Okay. All right, Conifer Strider and Cash Defenses, relevant spells here. He can cast both, but I think once he taps out, is he dead?
He's not dead.
Not
but
dead.
He's really close.
He's very close to just being dead here. All right, so now the Encase and Ice is going to take down the Arturos. He could have done it on his main phase last turn and got in a hit with Ojutai, potentially, but there was some mana untapped, and he decided not to, but now he gets to.
Didn't send in the Palace Familiar. That's an odd play, just because if you think your opponent has a way to deal with the Dragon Lord, you would want the Palace Familiar to be lethal.
That's right.
I don't see any way that I would consider not attacking the Palace Familiar there.
Yeah, it's overly conservative, perhaps, from Maxime. And he's found an Ojutai's Command as well. Yeah, this Esper deck he's built is quite nice. Lots of rares. What more do you want? There's an Epic Confrontation off the top for Antonio. He can use that with Einok Artillerist, which isn't doing anything anyway.
Well, you do it with Conifer Strider to kill the Dragon Lord.
Oh, sure, because then you get a bigger attack in or whatever.
I don't think you can attack with it after you do that, because it'll be a 9/6 with 5 damage on it. So
don't you just do it on the Artillerist then? If the Artillerist is never coming back from where it's at.
Well, it depends on whether you're willing to actually trade the Conifer Strider with. Let's say, like, he can just sack the Palace Familiar to make another Manifest and trade 2 Manifest for it. I think you want your Conifer Strider to live so that your Volcanic Vision actually does something. Even just bringing back the Confrontation next turn will potentially wipe the board and leave him with an 8/4 that, he could have Epic Confrontation in hand to go with that. So, pretty nice combination.
It is, and he's even got a Scream Reach Brawler he can cast or dash this turn too.
Yeah, the not attack with Palace Familiar could prove to be pretty costly.
Is Antonio really going to find his way out of this?
I don't think so, but
it still feels like not. But.
See, what's going to end up happening, like kind of worst case scenario, is missing the point of damage was bad. But next turn he gets to attack for 1. Even if he finds the land for vision and wipes everything dies. Ojutai's Command can return a creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard. So the Palace Familiar just hops back into play and will deal the final point. Although, did he not block the Conifer Strider? Did he just take 9?
He did take it.
Oh, because he's just going to counter whatever creature gets cast and attack for lethal. Okay.
All right, because he's got two creatures on the ground that are both lethal, and that should do it here. All right, so Maxime does find the win here. Eventually, he's just going to need to battle with his team, and that will put Antonio dead. But it also means that we get a game 3 here in the booth, which is always exciting. All right.
Magic.
So back to our sideboarding here. Now both players have seen a lot more of their opponent's deck this game, and I don't know if Antonio actually has the ability to sideboard out of the type of strategy he's chosen with all the artillerists and the gore swines and such. It kind of feels like he's stuck with that plan, even if it is a terrible one against what his opponent's doing.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs ways to force those creatures through, and there aren't a lot of good ones, because even a card like Magmatic Chasm that, is generally what you use to get your 4/1s through, they don't do anything against Palace Familiars.
All right, looks like no changes for the players, and we're back in the feature match here for the third game, and this will be the decider. Plenty of time on both players' clocks as well. That's something that we pay a little more attention to here, as if one of the players' clocks goes down to 0, they lose the match on the spot. And we are underway here. All right, Dragon Lord Servant there. Not the aggressive start that we're used to seeing from Antonio here. And it looks like one of his cards is covered up. I can't quite see if he's actually got a dragon. It was just a Volcanic Rush. So, not going to do a ton here, though. That thing can actually...
Beastmaster's a great draw.
Yes, Beastmaster off the
He drew his combo.
He has his only 3 toughness creature along with his Beastmaster right into each other.
And interestingly, Maxime does not have an island for his blue-black deck. The white splash. We've seen Dragonlord Ojutai and Ojutai's Command. I don't believe we've seen any other white cards.
Here's Mind Rot, but that's going to be temporary measures here.
So he's just going to discard Rush and Mountain here.
Yeah,
a really great start for Antonio with the Beastmaster turn 3 on the play when your opponent doesn't have their removal spells to take care of it. And that was a good 2 cards.
Whoa. He finds land right into Sabretooth Outrider, so now he's found a good bit of pressure here. And
he found his 3rd color, too.
Wow. And
so does Maxime.
Yeah, so does Maxime off the top. He finds a Vulturous Aven. That still doesn't get him above that toughness threshold, but whoa, these players are drawing very well. Draw 2 cards, and he finds land Dragonlord Ojutai.
Those are great draws, too.
Jeez, look at this.
This is going to get dashed. The Aven, I think, is going to get confronted epically. And 10 damage. He's coming across for 10 damage and has Bathe and Dragonfire in hand with 7 power going to be left behind. It's fantastic.
Wow, what a huge turn there for Antonio. Maxim falls down to 8. And normally you'd think a turn 5 Dragonlord Ojutai would be pretty sweet, but it might just not be enough here.
He played a spell on 2, 3, and 4 and played Dragonlord Ojutai on 5.
Yeah, he did. Jeez. All right, so how does this turn line up? 4, 5, 6, 7. He needs to put another point of power to get the Outrider first strike.
I think I would just play the Artillery and attack with the Outrider.
That sets you up best for the next turn, but it looks like
he's just attack with everything. That
Antonio's just crunching into the red zone here.
Yeah, that actually might be a better play.
This is going to leave him at 1.
Yeah, with potentially... Oh, yeah, I completely forgot about the non-Megamorph mode there. Yeah, that this play is better. Not even close, actually.
Right, so now he's got 3 lethal threats plus another one in his hand that he can dash in. So making your opponent deal with 4 creatures, including one with haste in your hand, is a pretty tall order, even if they have Dragonlord Ojutai. And it looks like Antonio is going to run away with this 3rd game and pick up the match here.
Yeah, we're looking at Crux of Fate, and Crux of Fate basically alone.
And he still loses to that, right? Oh, he
no,
needs non-dragons.
He needed to have it in
dragon.
hand.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so Deathwind off the top. He's got Coat with Venom, but these are not going to be enough here. Maxime's just making sure that his options are exhausted. And Antonio is listening to some type of synthetic music. And he might as well hit him and see if he draws something, but I think he knows that this is a lost cause. What a great curve from both players. Antonio's, though, providing more punch in the early to mid game, and he's able to ride it to the victory here. This is a great match between these two. 2 decks quite different from each other. Antonio Del Moral Leon ultimately wins his match here against Maxime. And a handshake from the 2 players as well. And welcome back to the booth here, or the laptop, as it were. That's Eric Froelich. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and we're providing you coverage. We're very happy to be doing so of the Magic Online Championship. We're in Seattle, Washington. It is a gray day outside, as one may expect, though it wasn't earlier. Brian David Marshall, though, is over in the red zone with some highlights. BDM, what do you got for us?
Down to Jasper de Jong is out ahead at 7-1 coming into this round. You got 2 players at 6 and 2, Alexa Telerov and Magnus Lanto. And then you have Ole Rade and a couple of other players down at 5 and 3. So we're looking in on the match between Magnus Lanto and Jasper de Jong. So this is huge. If you can stick a second loss on Jasper, you know that's going to be great for the pack that's chasing him down. We pick up the action. Magnus Lanto. This is game 2. Jasper's up a game, and an Irish Shaman was played on turn 2 by Lanto, and the controversial Echoes of the Kin Tree is the turn 2 play from Jasper. So let's pick up the action and see what happens. He's just played the Echoes. In comes the Irish Shaman. There's a Territorial Rock shutting the Irish Shaman down.
The perfect curve.
The Irish Shaman's got the Goblin War Drums ability.
Oh, that's right. He needs to be blocked by 2 creatures, so keeps coming in. But it gets sandblasted, which is a pretty big accomplishment in the career of an Irish Shaman. There's a Dragonloft Idol. It gets bounced with Aven Surveyor. So, Marshall, you're excited about this match.
I love this.
And then a Morph. I'm sorry, the Dragonloft Idol comes back down. Get in for 2. Play a Morph. Here comes the Cobra. The Cobra is just a stop sign, but it can't do anything about any creatures in the air. Unmorph.
Whoa.
Tie Interceptor. Get in for 7. Another Morph. There's Vial of Dragonfire. It takes down the Morph. It was a Shore Crasher Elemental. Enhanced Awareness for De Jong. He bolsters. He attacks for 8 in the air. Lanto's down to 3. And that is the match. Jasper de Jong holds on. He gets himself to 8 and 1. So 8 and 1. So, creating a little bit more hard work for everyone else in the tournament. They were really hoping that they could take him down a peg. But meanwhile, Alexa Telerov was playing against Ole Rad, and we'll pick that up in game 2 with Ole Rad up a game. So let's see how this played out over here. And we are underway. Telerov's on top, and he's got a Wandering Champion facing off against Hand of Silumgar. There's Light Form. Epic Confrontation takes down the Light Form. Lotus Path Djinn. And that's Formless Nurturing. So this is just trading. Coming through in the air. There's a Dragon Scarred Bear. There's a Hugh Stone Retainers. So two plays that turn for Ole Rad. By the way, there's a Sheltered Aerie. So he's playing 3 colors. And now he can just start attacking with his bear. And Telerov is just not able to do anything about it. But he's got a pristine Skywise.
Ooh, that'll change things.
Ultimate Price on the Lotus Path Djinn. Jeskai Barricade. And Reach of Shadows in response. So Ultimate Price and Reach of Shadows that turn.
Yeah, he took down the Skywise with the Reach. That was a great play by Rade.
Hunt the Weak. Voltage Haven on the Reduced and Statured Huge Stone Retainers. Get in with both. Reality Shift the Dragon Scarred Bear. There's an Einar Artillerist, and that's the game. So Ole Rad, he picks up another win here, and he is still in great shape. Of course, De Jong, in the best shape. He is obviously 8 and 1. And then you have Lanto and Telerov at 6 and 3, and Rod at 6 and 3. So 6 and 3 right now. Oh yeah, and Ole Rad, by the way, is the only 2-0 in his draft pod. So the way the pairings broke, you have an 0-2, you have a bunch of 1-1s, and the only 2-0 is Ole. So pretty exciting stuff. 6 and 3, 6 and 3, 6 and 3. That's your next 3 positions in the standings. So we're going to send it back to the booth.
All right, thanks for that, BDM. Some good stuff down in our feature match area. We've had a lot of pretty exciting decks come out, and a few where people had to kind of stitch things together through their, subpar cards in some ways. We're going to take a quick commercial break here. We'll be back in just a few with more coverage of the Magic Online Championship after this.
The new Magic Online exclusive Tempest Remastered combines the best of Tempest, Stronghold, and Exodus into an exciting new draft experience with events running until May 27th. Sign up for Magic Online at mtgo.com. Modern Masters 2015 edition comes to Magic Online on May 28th, with 8 4 and 6 222 draft queues, 64-player single elimination draft tournaments, plus Phantom Sealed and Phantom Draft events. There's something for every Modern Masters fan. Visit mtgo.com for more information. Do you dream of playing in next year's Magic Online Championship? Season 6 of the Magic Online Championship Series runs until May 27th, so log on and earn those qualifying points today. Visit mtgo.com for more information and a complete schedule. Want to see some sweet standard decks? Every Tuesday, 8 of the best Magic players in the world get on Magic Online and try to win this week's installment of the Standard Super League. Luis Scott Vargas and Randy Buehler bring you all the action live on twitch.tv/magic, or you can catch up with previous episodes on YouTube. Friday Night Magic has expanded to include all formats. Be ready for Standard, Commander, Legacy, or even Conspiracy drafts. Check out your local store for details and share your FNM stories by using the hashtag MTGFNM. Visit magic.wizards.com/FNM for more information. Hunt bigger game by playing in a Grand Prix. These open tournaments feature the best players in your region as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Upcoming Grand Prix include Chiba, Utrecht, Las Vegas, Charlotte, Copenhagen, Providence, Singapore, and Buenos Aires. Visit magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix for a complete schedule. Make Magic history by joining in on the biggest Magic Premier Play weekend ever, featuring events in Chiba, Utrecht, and Las Vegas. Modern Masters weekend is May 28th to the 31st. Learn more at magic.wizards.com/modernmastersweekend.
Hello there. Welcome back to the booth here at the Magic Online Championship. I've got Eric Froelich with me. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and we are heading down to the last round of draft here. Let's take a look at our standings and see how things shook down from that last one. We see Jesper de Jong still sitting at the top at 8-1, but now he's got a group hunting him down. Magnus Lanto, Alexa Tellerhoff, and Ole Rade, all at 6-3, and then another big group of 5-4s, followed by a bunch of 4-5. So things are sort of getting closer in the middle there, but Jasper has managed to pick up one win with this draft deck, and we're actually going to find out if he can make it a 2-1 with his deck, as he is going to be playing against Ole Rade here in our last round of draft. So
right. If he's able to take this match down, the two 6-3s will play against each other. There'll be one player at 7-3, and then a bunch of people at 6-4. So having 3 matches clear of even 4th place, and potentially 4 matches clear of the rest of the standings, put you in pretty great shape with 4 rounds to go.
with that full 4
rounds to go until you cut to top 4. So every match is essentially close to clinching it for Jasper, who's just been crushing this tournament.
That's right. Here's Ole Rade from Sweden. You can see he was our 1996 Player of the Year. He's also in the Pro Tour Hall of Fame.
Either of us were born.
Yeah, and he had a significantly different haircut back in the day, too. He used to have really long hair.
Well, they called him the little Viking, right?
Yeah. And his favorite card is Sylvan Safekeeper. There's
that's
slight
weird
bias being implied there.
I guess he hasn't seen the new art.
That was him. That was from his 1996 Magic Invitational win. When they still had the Invitational, if you won it, you actually got to have a Magic card made with your likeness on it.